Hanging out in the streets of ancient Rome would have been a pretty dangerous business. Robbery, child abandonment, murder, prostitution, and rape were all very common, and there were two reasons for this. First of all, most of the people in Rome were desperately poor. It was not unusual to find people who had starved to death lying dead in the streets. Crime was often the only means that people had of staying alive. Secondly, the most popular religions of the day taught that if you were poor, it was because the gods did not like you. This wasn't really surprising because the myths that were the basis of those ancient religions taught that human beings were little better than animals, concerned with nothing but their own wants and desires. So there wasn't a lot for the gods to like in human beings. Today we would just call them evil by nature. When Christianity arrived in Rome, it was initially ignored by the city's richer and more powerful citizens. But poor people were attracted to this strange new religion that taught them to love one another because God loved them. Christianity taught that because they were created in the image and likeness of God, they were not evil by nature, but good, and that God had intended for them to live good lives. None of these teachings went over very well with the emperor of Rome, a man called Nero, who by this time had begun telling Romans that he was a god. Nero insisted that the poor people of the Roman Empire should be worshiping him and not any other god, and so he began a long series of persecutions of Christians. He had them arrested, thrown in prison, and condemned to die in grisly public spectacles that he put on for the entertainment of the people of the city. Now, Nero had believed that persecuting the Christians in this way would discourage people from joining the new faith, but instead it had exactly the opposite effect. By the year 300 AD, over 6 million people had been baptized. That's about 1 in every 7 people living in the Roman Empire. Not only that, but the act of being baptized into this church seemed to have a near miraculous effect on these people, most of whom had come from the lower echelons of society: thieves, slaves, even murderers. In the Bible, in the book of Acts of the Apostles, it says that many of the people who joined the new Christian religion sold all of their property and turned over the proceeds to the church, where it was shared among all of its members. As a result, although very few Christians could be called wealthy, at least none of them starved. So why did Christianity have such a profound effect on people? Well, to understand that, we're going to have to take a closer look at the prayer that the new Christians were required to learn and recite publicly before they could be baptized. This is the prayer that's called the Creed.